His print, embedded deep into the wet earth, was another, but it wasn't human. The shape was massive, nearly twice the size of his boot, and ended in 3 long, claw-like, toes. Each impression was unnaturally symmetrical, as if whatever left it moved with perfect precision. The spacing between prints suggested it had been walking on 2 legs, and recently, the mud was still pooling into the indentations, rippling, slightly, as though something had just stepped through. His eyes darted across the forest floor. More of the prints stretched out behind him, and ahead of him. They weren't scattered or random, they were leading somewhere. The direction chilled him to the bone. They curved in a wide arc that circled the clearing where the pod sat, and then pointed directly toward the spot where he had been hiding. Tyler's stomach dropped. This thing, whatever it was, hadn't just wandered through. It had been tracking him, watching, maybe even herding him toward the clearing on purpose. Tyler backed away slowly, forcing each breath to stay silent. Every step sank deeper into the mud, and the prints beneath him grew more frequent, overlapping his own, crisscrossing in unnatural angles. It was like the forest floor was telling a story he didn't want to read. Something had moved through this area with absolute control, and he'd walked right into its path. It hadn't chased him. It hadn't needed to. It was confident, patient, like a predator that had all the time in the world. And now, the hunter had become the hunted. He reached a denser patch of trees and ducked low behind a rotted trunk, gripping his rifle so tightly his knuckles turned white. Somewhere behind him, a faint sound echoed, not a growl, not a branch snap, but something subtler. A clicking sound, rhythmic, repeating, almost insect-like. It wasn't coming from one direction. It was coming from all around him, bouncing between the trees like sonar. He pressed his back to the trunk, barely daring to breathe. The light from the pod was gone, swallowed by the forest. All he had now was instinct and a terrible, growing certainty that he was not alone. In the mud, just a few feet from where he crouched, a new footprint appeared. Fresh, not stepped earlier. Now Tyler hadn't seen anything move. There had been no shadow, no flash, no blur. But the print was there, impossibly fresh, as though something invisible had just stepped forward. His vision blurred with panic. His ears rang. Every primal alarm in his body screamed that it was time to run. But still, he remained frozen because part of him now understood. This was no accident. He hadn't stumbled across something forbidden. He had been allowed to. Tyler didn't stop running until the forest began to thin, and the sky above him shifted from charcoal gray to the first pale hints of dawn. His legs were numb, lungs burning, heart punching against his ribs like a warning drum. Branches slapped against his arms and face. Mud weighed down his boots, and he didn't care. He just needed to get out, to reach his truck, to hear the sound of the engine, to